Welcome back to IELTS with Will. We're looking at idioms for IELTS, and this is the second video. And we're going to look today at the topic of technology. Speaking idioms add fluency and flexibility. As we've seen, they're very important for your speaking if you want to try and get to that higher mark. We like to look at the mark of 7 and above here. In writing, you'll often be asked about the impact of technology also. They often ask you very similar topics to the speaking. And you could be asked about the impact of technology on society, on education, on communication. But the difference in writing is, of course, that you need a formal tone. And that means that sometimes idioms cannot be used in writing, and we have to reformulate the idioms to get the better mark. So let's look at some idioms on the topic of technology today. So first of all, I'll show you some idioms in context so that you can see them all and you can pause the video later and hopefully you can read them to get some ideas. Today, although I've listed 5 idioms here, I have highlighted one because it's one that is used often by students. I'm suggesting that you never use it again for the rest of your life. And you ask, why does he never want me to use this? Because, as we'll see, it's used so often by students that it almost is a waste of time. It doesn't get you any marks. I'll tell you in a moment. We have idioms such as cutting edge, and that's usually used to describe very modern or advanced technology. So it's used as an adjective. To push the envelope or to push the envelope, depending how you pronounce it, that means to go beyond usual limits. So tech giants are always pushing the envelope with innovation. Light years ahead, much more advanced than others. A double-edged sword. So this is an idiom that I've included here to tell you to avoid using. There are 2 idioms that, as an examiner, I heard almost every student say, sometimes correctly, sometimes not, but it's like every student I ever met has learned this idiom. And because I heard it so often, I feel that an examiner will not want to hear it again and will not be impressed because it is memorized vocabulary. If you are learning a double edged sword, stop and try to learn something else, please. So, a double edged sword, something that has both advantages and disadvantages. Sometimes students avoid saying a double edged sword and they say every coin has 2 sides, which is just as awful as a double edged sword. Again, it has a similar meaning, and I always think every coin has 2 sides is stating the obvious. So try to avoid using this one. We will not practice it today, but it's there as a warning. The last one was to be ahead of the curve. That means to be ahead of everyone else, to be so innovative that you're ahead of everyone else. Let's look at them individually. Cutting edge technology. That's usually how you hear it used. The definition, as we said, it means that this technology is very modern and advanced. The example, this company uses cutting edge technology to design apps. So when a company boasts of this, they're saying we have the most modern technology to do the job. Push the envelope. So as we said with idioms in our first video, they do not mean what they literally say. An idiom is about another meaning that is not literal. So let's have a look at the example. Pushing the envelope with innovation. Tech giants are always pushing the envelope with innovation means they are always going beyond the usual limits with innovation, trying to get something new. Light years ahead. Light years ahead. That is used with the verb to be usually. And what is its definition? As we can see in the picture, actually, it means something is much more advanced than something else. So look at the 2 telephones, for example. So I used to use the first telephone, the big one, and now I use something like the second one, which is the mobile smartphone. So the mobile smartphone is much more advanced. It's light years ahead of the old telephones, the dial-up telephones. Smartphones today are light years ahead of what we had 10 years ago. So one is light years ahead of the other. That means the one is very modern. To be, again, it's the verb to be used with ahead of the curve, ahead of the curve. What does that mean? Definition is to be ahead of all the others, to be number one. You're ahead of everyone. So the startup is ahead of the curve in AI development. So this new starting business is number one in AI development. It's number one. It's before everyone else in AI development. Right, so speaking part two could ask you a question like this. They ask you to describe a piece of technology you often use. So the sample answer may contain some idioms. Let's have a look. I use my smartphone every day. It's packed with cutting edge features and apps that help me to stay organized and productive. Honestly, compared to what phones could do 10 years ago, today's models are light years ahead. So, light years ahead, cutting edge features. Again, this is how to use them. Today's models are much more advanced than the older models. All right, so you could do this if you wish. You can pause the video now and try to describe your favorite tech using two of the idioms that I've already shown you today. And we'll move on to writing task two. So remember from our first video, writing has to be formal. So that means that it's difficult to use idioms, if any at all, when we write. But let's see. So some people think that technology has made our lives easier, while others believe it has made life more complicated. So an informal answer, like a spoken answer, would say something like this: technology is a double edged sword that helps people but also causes problems. So, double edged sword, as I said, is the idiom that's not so good, and you definitely would not use it in writing. But if you do want to use something with the same meaning, you have to reformulate. Of all the idioms in the world, double edged sword is the best one to reformulate. Why? Because you shouldn't use it, right? And seven, writing, you could write like this: while modern technology improves efficiency and communication, it also creates new challenges related to privacy, dependency, and mental health. So that's showing you two things: the positives and the negatives, the advantages and the disadvantages. Thus, it means similar to a double edged sword. It has a good and it has the not so good. Okay, your turn now. So you can choose one of the following and rewrite it in an academic style. Each of these sentences contains an idiom, and you have to remove it when you do your writing and instead reformulate it with more formal vocabulary. So, number one, the company uses cutting edge software in its design. So, you remember what cutting edge means? Second one, many tech companies push the envelope to stay ahead. Think about what push the envelope means and then try to rewrite. New smartphones are light years ahead of old ones. This company is ahead of the curve in AI. So, if you wish, you can pause the video, and I'm about to give you these answers, but pause the video now if you wish to try to rewrite them yourself first. So, these possible answers are just that. They're possible. You could reformulate them in a different way from me, maybe better. But these are some possible answers. First one was cutting edge. That was the idiom, and the spoken answer was the company uses cutting edge software in its designs. The written answer could look like this: the company utilizes instead of uses highly advanced software systems in its design process. So you want to avoid saying cutting edge, so you say highly advanced. Second idiom was push the envelope. Many tech companies push the envelope to stay ahead. So, what did push the envelope mean? Many technology firms continuously expand the boundaries of innovation to maintain competitiveness. So, if I look at these two idioms, I look at cutting edge and I think possibly you could use that in writing. Push the envelope, maybe not so much. Number three, light years ahead. So in spoken English, you may say new smartphones are light years ahead of old ones. Written, modern smartphones are significantly more advanced than earlier generations in terms of functionality and performance. Oof, so they felt like big words in that one compared to light years ahead, but they are significantly more advanced than, instead of just saying old ones. And again, you look at old ones and these are very basic words, and then look at the rewrite in the writing task two, and it's very big words, a lot smarter sounding. Number four, idiom was ahead of the curve. Spoken English may say this company is ahead of the curve in AI. What's the writing version? The company has established itself as a leader in artificial intelligence research and development. So it sounds quite formal, I think. Just a recap, writing in particular, if we see the difference. So cutting edge, probably not in writing. I think it's not so terrible for writing, actually, but it's better to use more formal words. Push the envelope, good for speaking also, not so much for writing. Light years ahead, the same. Not so good for writing, but very good for speaking, actually, that one in particular. Double-edged sword, I don't like it for writing or speaking, actually. Ahead of the curve, well, that's a good one for speaking, but not so much for writing. This is the big difference. It's good to learn idioms, especially for speaking. But when it comes to your writing, you should be very careful because they look informal. So if you go back over some of the examples from a moment ago and you see sentences with these big formal words and you imagine an idiom in the middle of it, it looks like it's in the wrong place. All right, you can use this for your homework if you wish to try this. Rewrite this sentence for a writing task too, in particular. So, in spoken English, someone may say, tech is a double edged sword that makes life easier but also brings problems. He is telling you the disadvantages, obviously. So that's spoken English. You don't want it to say double edged sword in writing in particular. So try to upgrade this sentence into a formal academic one that's good for your writing task too. And if you can do it, please put it in the comments section below. I'll have a look. All right, so there you go. That's a second video about idioms in IELTS. And this one was about technology. We'll look at video 3 the next time. Please like and subscribe and click the links below if you're interested in some of the courses I do. And I'll see you next time.